Walden guitars are made in mainland China, and I'd like to talk about why. For those of you that don't know, my name is Jonathan Lee. I'm the owner and designer of Walden Guitars. I was born here in America, and I learned how to build guitars here in America. I was a partner at Charles Fox Guitars in San Francisco. I built handmade guitars. Our instruments sold up to $10,000 or more, and that's really where I learned how to build guitars. However, for much of my career, I also ran a factory building Walden guitars and some other brands over there in mainland China. Obviously, I speak English. I also speak Mandarin Chinese, and I speak Taiwanese rather poorly. So why am I in China? This relates directly to why Walden even exists. And Walden exists is because I'm trying to apply as much of the luthiery and handmade guitar designs and processes to an instrument that has affordability written into its genetics. I've worked at factories that build here in America. I know how much materials cost and operations cost, and I know what fair labor for highly skilled craftspeople are. Well, one thing is if you can afford an American-made guitar, be it from the large manufacturers or small production handmade factories or even a luthier, I really encourage you to support them. Having done it myself, that is great. If you're like most of us, myself included, and up to $1,000 is a stretch, well, then you start thinking about affordability. And if you want to make a guitar that really is a guitar in America, it's going to cost you $2,000 or more, or the factory's probably losing money and just wants to fill their production. It's not really possible here in America, given those fundamentals. So China is a country that is a manufacturing powerhouse, which is why the vast majority of things are made in China. We, as Americans, had a role in encouraging that as we pursued trying to buy affordable things, and that's really not going to change. Now, as it relates to guitars, all guitar factories are not equal. And as a guitar builder, I've visited hundreds of these factories and have selected only a couple that builds our instruments. And why? Well, it's not just the cheapest place gets my business. Being a guitar builder, you need to know how to build guitars and be responsive when I ask you to build our guitars with our low mass bracing, with our additional neck design, with my building sensibility of how we want to assemble a musical instrument versus some of those factories over there that are building guitar-shaped objects. And if we're being frank here, there are guitar-shaped objects built in China, built in Indonesia, built in India, built in Europe. Really, when people aren't trying to build a musical instrument, you cut corners, and they're not really ones that are acceptable for a Walden, because we're all about a musical instrument. We're also about human rights. We don't work with factories that, they talk about slave labor over there in China, and that's just not true. It's true in some cases, but we have clothing sweatshops in Los Angeles here in America. This is a larger problem than just manufacturing by country. So I go there periodically. I've known some of these factories for several years. I've helped them work on their processes. There's even a video out there where I'm a host of one of our factory's 50th year anniversary. You'd think you'd be able to learn and build a great guitar in 50 years. If you watch those videos and also have the luck of visiting some of the American large manufacturers that welcome you every day, you won't see very much difference. Building at that level requires certain automation and certain attention to detail, and it's quite similar. And at the end of the day, Waldens sell between $250 and I think our most expensive one on the street is $1,200. You want a $500, $600, $700 guitar, you want to buy from a manufacturer that is working with great factories, but are in countries where we can achieve this objective. So I hope that clarifies things a bit. At the end of the day, we're all people. We live in a global world, and just look at semiconductors. I think there are like 50 countries involved in just making those AI chips. So let's all get along here and That's how we do things at Walden.